Hello, our viewers. Thank you very much for joining us here once again. Faris here, and I'm with Hamza Rubama. Is a scientist. Yes, Mr. Hamza Rubama, welcome to our channel.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Hello, viewers. I'm happy to be on this channel. My name is Hamza Rubama, and I'm a physics and mathematics educator. In Uganda, they call us education officers, though when you go to the village setting, they call us teachers. I happen to be teaching physics and mathematics, and I'm a major of physics at my university undergraduate, and even at master's, I'm still studying physics. So basically, I'm in love with physics and mathematics as a scientist, but I'm happy to be here. Nice to meet all of you.
And I'm also glad to be a scientist because I have some ideas about science, especially mathematics and physics.
That's great.
What else do you do for a living?
Currently, I'm employed by the government, and also have some private arrangements with other institutions. And on top of that, I do some side hustles. Of course, this new year, I have been on one of the different platforms, and I've been mentioning how people should plan for the year, how people should get side hustles and stick to them. I have a side hustle of farming, and also have a side hustle of online classes, especially during these times when we don't have serious engagements with schools. So basically, I do some side hustles of farming, and that is a line of agriculture, inclusive of gardening and livestock, which basically also has given me some good challenge of how to borrow my physics and put it to use. And yeah, I think with time, if God allows, I'll also invite you there, and you see some of the physics that we are using to see that people can transform the way they
Are
do.
you trying to say
their
that you are
agriculture
using
and their
what you are
livestock.
teaching in class, their lives, by applying it in agriculture, for example?
Definitely. For example, I apply atmospheric pressure when I'm using water bottle irrigation. When we hang the bottles, and then we have to turn the top or the cover slightly so that atmospheric pressure can get into
That
it.
same one President Museveni initiated.
Yeah, the president talked about it, but he didn't talk the physics behind it. He just knew that water would drip, but he didn't know the physics behind it. So I trust maybe with time he will invite me, and I become his detailed physicist who can give him the details of the science.
In particular, what are you growing?
Right now, currently, I'm growing passion fruits. I have some plantain. I have some apple bananas. I have some matoke. I have also some maize to make silage for my animals. I have some greens, and also some other trees which are for fruits, and some are not for fruits.
Is this basically for home use or even for commercial purposes?
I began that as a home for home consumption. I remember my wife. This story comes from my wife. She said if she doesn't have matok at home, we don't have food. So when I took that statement seriously,
She
I'm
must
like,
be a Muganda woman.
definitely. So I said, okay, now I need to go and start growing food just like our parents did. Yeah, and that's how I joined farming. But previously, I grew up in Kawempe, and we had a farm in Kawempe, and we grew up farming. So I knew exactly what to do.
Wow, science is too big.
It comes deep from home.
From home. Your father was a scientist?
Yeah, they used to call him half doctor. He didn't complete school, but if he had completed, he was working with Dr. Kibaya in a certain hospital, and yeah, he was doing a good job. So most people thought he was a doctor, and he actually hadn't gone to school to become a doctor.
So how do you usually manage the seasons of January and July, especially when it is shining a lot? How do you manage when it comes to farming?
One of the skills we borrow is the water bottle irrigation system. We also borrow the system of pumping water. I'm yet to also see the system of siphoning water. Siphoning water is also an aspect which is in physics, whereby you just make sure that water has a very high table on one side, then you lower it on the other side, and you pump. You push in a pipe, which pipe draws the water automatically without even using any engine. And then siphoning system of irrigation can also irrigate.
Have you ever asked yourself why is it too shiny during January and July? So
Yeah,
which
why
kind
this-
of science is working there?
Okay, the physics behind
Especially in
this,
Uganda.
yeah, the physics behind the sun being so hot, especially in Uganda in January, like now, people sleep almost without covering themselves. In January and July, it's basically because as the Earth rotates, it spins about its axis, and we are in the equatorial region. So people who are at the equator during these times of January and July, the Earth the solar angle, the angle at which the sun rays hit the earth, is perpendicular, as in it's directly hitting the earth without deviating at any other angle. So the rays come straight to the earth, and that's why we end up getting the sun really hot during these seasons. So it's because the rays are perpendicular to the earth, especially for we who are at the equatorial regions.
So that means that there are other countries in the equatorial region that are facing the same issue we are facing right now.
Exactly. Whereas other countries, for them, their angle is not as ours. That's why in USA, in UK, they are having snow right now. So for them, the angle of at which the sun rays hit them is not the same as ours. So ours is a sharp angle, which is a sharp angle. We are assuming 90 is a sharp angle. So for us, we are ending up getting heat directly from the sun at a very intense angle, which is 90 degrees. Whereas those people in those areas, for them, they are not experiencing the same. Even in South Africa, I saw heavy rains falling down there. Also, they are not experiencing the rays at the same angle as we are. But most of the countries that are within this region, where the equator cuts the earth, some people don't know what the equator is, but actually this is the line that halves the entire world. Give us the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere.
It dried up. That water was spinning and spinning and spinning. Where it has to spin to the left. The morning it spins right angled anti-clockwise. Clockwise it spins like this. In the evening it is anti-clockwise.
Anti-clockwise yetambula ne sawa ya rado.
Anti-clockwise yeriwa.
Anti-clockwise.
The love of physics. As I enjoy this drink, I always tell people, even my learners in class, that they enjoy the sodas, the juices, and they think they're the ones sipping the juice. But actually, it's the physics that is making them enjoy the juice.
Maybe it is the juice sipping them.
No. What actually happens is, as this straw is in the juice, there are some air molecules that fill up this straw. And now there is atmospheric pressure acting on the surface of the juice. That is supposed to push the juice in the straw. But it can't push it because the air molecules are already seated on top, and the pressure which is acting on the air molecules. So if I sip, I remove the air molecules. So I will create a vacuum. When I create a vacuum, the atmospheric pressure acting on the liquid is going to push the juice in the straw automatically, and then to get sealed.
What is
when you sip it faster, when you sip the air faster, the rate of flow of the juice is faster. When you sip it slowly, the rate of flow of the juice is also slow.
What is better, with a straw or without?
The test differs. Depends on how someone. We have different tastes and preferences. So
because there is this tendency of people trying to show that they're enjoying what they're sipping when they're using a straw, unlike when they're using a bare glass without a straw.
What should I say about that? For the straw, maybe you can talk about something like what? Reduced cross-section area. You have a high pressure, so the juice goes faster and further in your mouth. Whereas if the mouth is wide open and you're putting the mouth on the glass, you have a very big area, so you have a very low pressure with which the juice gets in. So it stops at a closer position to the mouth, so you have to do work to take it back to the back of the mouth. But with a straw, it goes straight to the back of the mouth and direct to your throat. That's the difference I can see in that.
With the first introduction we had about science, do you think Uganda is one of the fastest growing countries in Africa when it comes to science?
Wow, I appreciate the scientists. The scientists. Of course, science comes from way down, classes, secondary, primary, university. Then we give out the products you people use or that make other items. We appreciate, for example, the engineering department of this country. It's really doing a good job. The science and technology department is doing a good job. Our minister, Dr. Msenero, she's doing a good job. Recently, they launched a satellite. And it shows how much Uganda and how far Uganda
By the way, how did it go?
Wow, the satellite was launched, and people did not know exactly what was going on, how it happened, why it happened, and how it happens. But basically, I talk a little about it. The physics behind is that these satellites are given energy, what we can sometimes we call velocity or the escape velocity. They have escape velocity to escape from the Earth's gravitational pull. Nothing can go to space unless they have escape velocity. and the escape velocity of the Earth is 11.4 kilometers per second. If you can run from Kampala to Kawempe, run from Kampala to Chireka, Kampala to Busega in a second, you can escape this Earth. So those rockets run at such speeds. So if those space vehicles were ascending, they have to be launched at launch pads which have such velocities, and these launch pads are mainly put close to the equator. Reason being, the equator is where we have a less gravitational pull. The weights of bodies are reduced because of the rotation of the Earth and because of the distance from the center of the Earth.
You mean when I'm at the equator, I be at a different weight?
Exactly. Your weight reduces, but as you go further from the equator, your weight goes on increasing. Reason, the weight goes on increasing with the weight goes on increasing with increase in radius of the Earth. Reason being, the gravity goes on increasing. So weight comes from gravity. So that's why the weight also increases. But we are assuming should have been greater at the equator, but it's not. Reasons are: one, the rotation of the Earth. As the Earth spins about its axis, the person at the equator experiences a centrifugal force, which reduces the component of the weight you're supposed to have. So you end up weighing less. So at that instant, you will find that those areas, when we launch there a space vehicle to take our space satellites into space, they will be weighing a little bit less, so it's easier to overcome a less weight than a heavy weight. That's why most launch pads are located around the equator. So in that sense, when we launched our own Uganda Pearl of Africa Satellite 1, that's the name it was given by our 3 great scientists who are training in Japan. Yeah, it was launched to space until we reach a region where the satellite, the space vehicle reaches space, then it first goes to a height greater, then it drops the satellite. When the satellite is dropped, it falls in an orbit, its own orbit, which orbit can make it rotate at the same rotation as the Earth. So it takes the same period as the Earth to rotate around the Earth, which is 24 hours. So in that sense, the satellite can play a very good role. Of one, we can use, they are mainly built for worldwide telecommunication. So you, for example, if you make a phone call in Uganda, you want to call USA, the satellite, the phone call will go to the nearest mast, then retransmitted until it reaches Impoma, the main transmissions base of Uganda. Then transmits the call to space, then it meets one of the satellites in space, then the satellite retransmits the call until it reaches a satellite which is close to the coordinates of the coordinates of your country call you are calling. For example, Uganda is +256, USA is +1. So the satellites in space have to locate that country call. If they locate it, then the call will be retransmitted back to the Earth, and that's how the call comes back to the Earth. So satellites play that role. They also play a role of predicting weather situations. So mainly, I remember the head of science in Uganda, she was saying that it's going to be used mainly for weather forecasting and even predicting people who are penetrating our territories. It can do that. That's why when people are very serious in war crimes, they are terrorists, they hide underground. Reason being, they don't want satellites to view them. And that's why even other people they use what we call satellite phones, so that they don't pass through Mpoma for government to try to trace them. Yes. So satellites are playing all those roles. So as a person in Uganda, a satellite is very important to us. One, it will be cheaper for us now. We shall not pay as we have been paying before. Otherwise, it has been expensive. Every phone call we make, we have to pay. Every data you're using to surf anything, you have to pay. Because we didn't have one. We are being as if we are renting from other countries. Even Rwanda here had a satellite before us. So it means it was already going way ahead of us. So right now, if we have managed to make our own, if we build more satellites in that line, I trust the calls will have to reduce. The data will reduce in costs, and so on and so forth.
When do you think that will happen? Because the rates of data charges are too crazy.
Right now, I can't tell you when, because I'm not in the government and I'm not the one who heads this Department of Science and Technology in Uganda. But if this has happened, just like we started making electric cars, right now we are making more than, they predicted that in 2023 we can make more than 1,000. So if we have launched one, we can launch another 2, we can launch another 3, we can launch 10. Many countries have more than 10, 100, 500. So even as Uganda, with time, if maybe in the next 10 years we can have like 5 or 10, I think Uganda will be at a speed of running in technology.
But still, where does that leave us as Uganda, like in East Africa, depending on what we have achieved, launching the satellite, improving on our security, trying to reduce on the charges of being hosted by other countries using their satellites? Where does it put us right now?
Right
Do you
now,
think it's a big score?
it's a very big score, though the impact has not yet been seen. If actually right now we have reduced costs we have been spending on hiring other satellites, by now the government should have reduced the charges from calls in that line. If we have been paying for geometrical data, our methodology department has been paying, by now it should have reduced the cost because the satellite is playing a good role for us. So I guess people need to know such information. If it comes out, let them tell us that now, okay, because we launched a satellite which was worth these billions, now we have reduced the cost on this, we are here, this is how we are moving, so people need to know. Otherwise, if we don't, people will not see the relevance. People need to understand that if data has been at 5,000, 2.5 GB, they need to understand that now you can buy 2.5 GBs at 1,000, at 2,000. Even a person in the village will understand the relevance of the satellite. When they ask, why is it now cheaper? It's because we launched a satellite. So basically, if the impact is realized and implemented by the government, I trust people will benefit and they will see the relevance of the satellite.
There is a lot of questions that we have received concerning friction. What is friction?
Friction, to start with,
because I hear scenarios where people are saying, I have big thighs, when I move I get friction, they turn black. So what is the cause of that?
Very good. Now, I happen to meet so many friends and they're like, my integration, the mathematics, the friction, the gravitation we studied is not relevant at all to me. I'm like, you just didn't understand.
Newton's law.
Newton's law, exactly. I just tell them you did not understand what you studied in school. If you can't see their relevance, then you didn't pick the concepts right.
Sure.
So to start with, friction is the force that opposes relative motion. Hardly do people know that even friction helps cars to move forward. You know, previously they used to tell us friction prevents bodies from moving in a given direction. Now, if you go to the detail of a car, the tire spins backwards. Have you ever noticed?
Sure.
If it is spinning backwards, can friction again stop the car from moving forward by acting backwards, yet the tire is also moving backwards? No, because friction acts in the opposite direction.
What happens if you're reversing?
If you're reversing, the tire moves now forward, spins forward. Then friction acts in the opposite direction. It is the friction that plays a role and the momentum to make the car move backwards. The same applies to friction making a role or playing a role. As the tires spin backwards, it acts oppositely forward, hence it provides a forward driving force plus the momentum with which the exhausts are giving out. So it plays a role of helping vehicles to move. The friction which stops the vehicles is within the braking pads. Because as the wheels of the tires spin, there is where the brake pads are attached. So those brake pads come and seal off those wheels, then they reduce the speed of those wheels. Friction plays the role from there, not on the ground, as some people think. Another good example I can give on friction, like you've said, someone is big, is moving with big thighs, big pants, and they're crossing each other, you end up feeling heat. Even
at the end of that, they get bruised.
Yeah, so it's because of friction. So it means you have to be very careful. One, either smear yourself with oil, or get clothing which won't rub each other. Yeah. Or the other thing, you also go to the gym and try to work out and reduce some of the weight if possible. Then also another role, friction helps us to eat.
How?
The food rubs with the teeth, and because of friction, the food gets crushed. You get to the point? Even when you're chewing meat, pulling meat, it's friction playing the role for you. Even the tongue is rough, so that it can hold the food. When you put food in the mouth, it doesn't fall out. That's because of friction. When we are scrubbing ourselves, showering, it's because of friction. One very light example people neglect is washing hands.
Friction.
If you can't wash hands until you feel your hands are hard to move and they even make sound.
During the lockdown.
Yes, but people are washing hands wrong. They could wash like this and they're done.
They told us at least 15 seconds.
1 minute is the best minimum. you wash your hands until the fingers start producing sound. That there is that cracking sound, pop, 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 pop. There, it means you don't have any more dirt, but dirt is slippery. When people put soap, they think they are washing hands. Soap just plays a very simple role. I think we shall make a video one time talking about how soap plays a role in washing clothing and doing whatever it does. Soap molecules just go and sit in between the dirt particles. So reduce the energy between the dirt particles so that the dirt particles are easily moved with the soap particles and the water particles. So when you wash, you have to make sure the soap is done, even the dirt is done, and if all those items are done, the fingers will become rough because they have grips. And then that's when you will become clean. But people don't notice that. I see when some people washing the tips of their fingers, then they start to eat with their palm and other parts of the fingers. That is also so wrong. That is not correct. So, friction is a very important aspect in our lives. Friction helps us dry ourselves when we have showered with a towel. Of course, there is some capillarity also there. As capillarity molecules move from the water molecules also can get attached to the towel. But as you rub yourself, you know, sir, there's this question which people ask: Racho muntu amaze okunaba towel ekolache edugala. Why does a white towel become dirty when someone has finished to shower? Most of I'm clean. Why does the towel get dirty? It's because as you rub yourself, you don't rub yourself to maximum with a sponge. Some people even have very soft sponges that they don't even want to be, scratched anyhow. But the sponge should be correct. It should scratch you and you feel like, yeah, it has reached the skin. Then when you use the towel, you use it that intense. The towel is rough, and then you rub yourself really hard. When you do so, it will come off with that. Hence, it will accumulate the dirt and to make the towel dirty. So there are so many other aspects I can talk about in friction that play a very big role in our day-to-day lives. Look at an example of scrubbing saucepans. When they have got soot on them, they have got smoked and they want to clean them. Some people, instead of buying steel wire, there are those also dishwashing sponges which are coated with metal. Then others in the village who don't have such, they go and get sand, which sand has some stone particles. It makes it more rough, increasing friction. It increases the friction that helps this person to scrub the saucepan clean and then to glitter again. So it plays so many roles in all aspects. Also, the other example I can give is these vehicles. When you look at the way they are moving, when you're moving on a tarmac road and a Maram road, on a Maram road, the car needs a small acceleration to run at a very high speed. On a tarmac road, the car needs a very high acceleration to run at a very high speed. Why? The tarmac roads are more rough. The Maram roads are a little bit slippery. So they easily facilitate the car to run. There is less friction there. There is very high friction on the tarmac. So with that reason, vehicles end up accelerating so much, taking a lot of fuel, running on a tarmac road than when they are on roads.
That is the same science that makes the condom break.
Of course, when you look at the science of that line, I've seen biologists teaching and counselors talking to people about it, and I happen to realize that it's slippery on top. It has some oilish aspect. So as people use them, that's why they're not advisable to use them twice. Then when people overuse them, the friction will become so high, it will heat up, and then it will break, which will lead to spread of STDs. So people should avoid and not use multiple condoms, or condoms here and there once again when people are, in that act of having sex, because they can easily get the condom cut because of friction. So it plays a very important role there as well.
What causes a car to skid?
What causes a car to skid?
The conditions for a car to skid are basically depending on around 3 items. One, it's just that here I don't have a board to show you the physics equations that bring about that, but let me tell you as a layman. One, the coefficient of friction. The coefficient of friction here, I'm talking about the nature of the road. Is the road rough? Is it smooth? Is it a dry day? Is it a rainy day? On rainy days, that's when most roads become what? Slippery. So when the road is slippery, chances are very high that the car can slip or skid. Then also another thing is also the acceleration due to gravity. And then the other thing is the radius of the track. Normally, cars or vehicles mostly skid when they are negotiating bends. Teri corner mu science. A corner mu science tolimanyi ke kasonda. Kabako axis 3. Kati gobogambe corner mu kubo telina axis 3. So physics tulita bend.
Okay.
So the bend on the road, instead of seeing that's where cars skid off. So as those cars skid, the conditions: one, the radius of the bend matters. Two, the nature of the road. How is the road? Is it slippery? Is it rough? And three, acceleration due to gravity also plays a very important role.
And other factors.
And other factors which we have neglected. Nature of the tires. Some people don't want to reinstall new tires on their vehicles, of course, because they're expensive. Some think because they're driving in town, they never go to Maram roads. Then one day you go for a barrier, you end up going with your vehicle. You can slip and get skidded. I didn't want to know of the other. So basically, those are the things I can mention right now that cause.
I was about to call you a professor, but it's close to what I wanted to ask. How far will you go with your physics and science? Do you intend to study further? Because you seem to be very, very well versed in the subject.
Yeah, I really intend to continue with my pursuit in the line of physics. Though I want to make it to a point that it becomes realia, becomes achievable, it becomes notified in society, that people can really see the physics. Not just remaining in class, the theories, the abstractness, no. I want people to feel the physics. Just like I explained what atmospheric pressure was doing here.
Sure.
Just like I can explain why I'm rubbing my hands and I'm feeling the heat. Yeah, because some of the effects of friction is heat. Yeah. Just like I can be there and be like, okay, now when I'm talking about heat transfer, why is it that small bodies have low heat transfer while big bodies have high? So that when you explain to someone that, for example, if you hold a baby, you feel the baby becomes more comfortable. When you see these people who are welding, those fires that come off, they don't burn them. Why? When someone is cooking and they're slicing tomatoes, the bigger the slices, the faster they get ready. That heat, that physics, that heat of, so that even someone who is not going to class, you're at home and you can explain to them that this is better. This is what physics predicts, which is always better. The Arabs take tea during this season of January, which is very hot. When their sun is very hot, they take tea. But they're just using physics laws of cooling. What they do, they just increase the temperature of their body higher than the temperature of the surrounding. Heat travels from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So heat will now transfer easily from them to the surrounding, and hence they feel cool. That's why they take the tea instead of taking juice on a hot day. So it's very disadvantageous to take juice on a hot day. Just like if someone has very high fever, it is not advisable as a physicist to get a cold cloth and start putting it on this person.
Tukakanya ku temperature.
You are not. You are just increasing the rate at which the temperature is rising. But give him something.
But there's still some nurses out there in our remote areas who are still recommending that when the temperature is high,
they do not know the physics behind. Just try it at one point. Get someone or yourself, if you're sick, increase your temperature. Take tea, get a warm cloth, have a warm bath. The rate at which it will float the surrounding will be very high, so you'll cool down very fast. But when you get a cold cloth and you do the same, your body temperature is going to fall, and then heat is going to come from everywhere and start accumulating on you again. That's why when you shower hot water, you feel cold faster. When you shower cold water in cold,
the body heats up faster.
Heat transfer. So the physics behind people can use that example. Showering during cold season or cold weather.
During winter.
Or during winter. Of course, now during winter they cannot because they know winter is more deadly than the colds we have here. So for them, they have no option apart from going for if the Earth is really global and round, come on, what evidence is there? When you go on Lake Victoria and you go deep into the waters, time comes when you're no longer seeing the land. And yet when you're seeing forward, it's as if you're climbing down. That's one evidence you can get to realize that the world is round and it's global. And in that sense also, these people who are on Burj Khalifa, if those on the top take long to break their fast because they are still seeing the sun, it's because for them the angle at which they are seeing the horizon, at which the sun is going down, is different from the angle at which these people are viewing the sun who are down here. So in that sense, the other ones will still see the sun, while these guys won't be seeing the sun.
Way to visit your farms, we check out on your plantations, we see what you're practicing there, so that we can expand the knowledge to people out there who
I'll
like
be grateful
also
to share the knowledge.
to join
I'm always grateful to share the knowledge. I love what I'm doing.
agriculture.
I love sharing knowledge. I love it when I share knowledge to people and they really get to understand what I'm sharing.
How did you survive COVID-19?
Yeah,
You're a victim.
I'm a victim of COVID. COVID took me to the hospital times I've never been to hospital. I've never been bedridden in my life, so it was my first time to be bedridden in a hospital. It was a very touching experience. That's when I got to realize who love you, who care for you, who are always there for you. And it also showed me how precious life is. And how it's also explained to me how good God is to us. Because we all know how much oxygen was costing at that time. And here we are breathing for free. No one is paying a coin. But during COVID time, people had to pay for oxygen, which oxygen was also being made by physics. And whenever I talk about such gases, for example, being contained in cylinders, I always give this example. When you hold that cylinder and you shake it, you feel it is having a liquid inside as if it's water or something. But it's because of the physics reasons of gases. When gases are compressed, they liquidify. So they compress them in those cylinders, they liquidify. When you expand them by opening the cylinder, they go back to their state. So when it's coming out, it comes out like a gas. But when it's being pumped in, it goes in like a liquid. Just like the gas we used to cook at home. It also has the same scenario. So people at home get it and shake it and get to know whether it's still empty or it's still in. But back to COVID, you will find that COVID was quite an experience and a lesson. And it gave me three main things that people work for. One first thing I realized that people work for what to eat. All other things, yes, all other things, most cases come secondary. All others in COVID could use, because they locked us up and showed that we could be somewhere. Your vintage 8, your Land Rover, your Land Cruiser, was packed. Whether you're rich or you're broke, you are home.
It had no meaning.
But now you had to eat. And then if you fell sick, or if you had to fall sick, you had to go to hospital. That's another second important aspect which he taught me. We need to eat, we need to be healthy. Okay? Now, besides that, according to our country is having a very high population growth. And I need to mention some of these few aspects. There are 5 aspects. One, people need to invest in agriculture because people need to eat with this high population growth. Government has no solution yet. People need property in terms of land and housing. People don't have where to stay. So people need, with this increased population growth, we don't have a clear plan for how to accommodate these numbers. Another one, these numbers need transport. So people can also invest in transport. So transport is another sector where people can put investment and reap big in this country. Because if you can check, during this season of travel to villages of Christmas, New Year celebrations, vehicles get done. Even right now, some people have not yet come back. Recently I was going to the village, I was coming back, all stages were filled up with people. And all vehicles were bypassing them, meaning we don't have enough transport. Then another one is education. All those people have to study. So people who are investing in education, like we are here, I want to put this to another level to the extent that we even have digital classes, digital explanations like these ones, digital syllabi discussed on camera, on TV, on TikTok, on all media. And we use, for example, we put TikTok to use just like the way the Chinese made it. And then lastly, the health department is also wanting. People need health care which is on point. Our population is going to fall sick at one point. and those people all need treatment. So basically, those items, all I saw in COVID, that we need them. Because in COVID still we made classes online. That is how we came up to have such.
Actually,
I wouldn't be
Zoom made a lot of money.
Yes, I wouldn't be on this camera right now. But because of COVID, all this inventory has come. So it was a very big lesson, challenging health-wise, but I learned a lot and benefited from it.
Do you believe in quantum physics? Before we come to the end of this.
Yeah, I do believe in quantum physics as a physicist, though I've not put much research
in quantum.
Yeah, because of the reasons quantum has. But it's a very good field to study. I only stop at talking about quanta and the theory of light when we are discussing the photoelectric effect of electrons ejecting from metal surfaces. But I do believe and trust that quantum is quite a field any physicist would love to visit. Yeah,
thank you very much, Mr.
Anytime.
Hamza Lugama. How can our viewers contact you in case they have any questions regarding
our
science?
viewers, my students out there, our lovers of these shows or the science or the physics, they can always reach me out on my Facebook account in the names of Hamza Lugama, my TikTok account Hamza Lugama 0. My Instagram account is also active, same names, so they can always reach me out and can always share.
Thank you very much for your time.
Anytime.
See you again. Thank you very much.